I want to talk about toxic femininity because I do think there is such a thing as toxic femininity, and you might be surprised to hear that coming from someone like myself, who would usually be staunchly in defense of women being toxic, which, of course, but there is the toxicity that works against yourself, and that's what we're going to discuss in today's episode. First of all, what is toxic femininity? Well, that's a phrase. So let's divide that phrase into its two chunks. We've got the word toxic, we've got the word femininity. Now, femininity, if that isn't already obvious to you, largely defines the traits that are associated usually with women, right? Softness, caringness, sensuality, the mother, curves, emotions, empathy, flowers, pink, gentleness. These are themes associated with femininity. Now, they're not exclusively limited to just women enjoying or indulging in those things, but we would more associate those things with the feminine. Cool. Now, the word toxic, well, that would usually mean something that is unsafe, not good for you, dangerous, destructive, bad, negative, harmful, poisonous. Usually something that is described as toxic would be associated with generally bad for everyone, right? Like how we say toxic masculinity. I'm sure if you know what toxic masculinity is, you know what the associations are with toxic masculinity, right? Like not being accountable, being violent, valuing the validation from other men as opposed to actually caring about what the people you're attracted to think of you, i.e. caring about what women think. Toxic masculinity includes using anger as an overcompensation for the true root of that emotion, which is sadness with a mask on. Men using violence to bond with each other and creating mosh pits just so they can have the excuse and opportunity to touch each other. That falls under toxic masculinity. So we've defined toxic femininity and we've defined toxic masculinity in contrast just so that there's more of a general understanding of where we're going with this. Now, I do believe toxic femininity exists, but it might not be what you think I'm going to say. I think people want me to say that toxic femininity is expecting men to financially provide for women. People want me to say that toxic femininity is cutting men off when they're not useful to you. People want me to say that toxic femininity is not helping men with their mental health stuff. By the way, those examples I just gave of what people want me to say as toxic femininity, I don't consider those things toxic femininity. I don't even consider them toxic. Like, men should figure out their issues because their mental health issues are the outcome of them being horrible people on purpose. But when we talk about toxic femininity in terms of what I view as toxic femininity, one of the traits of toxic femininity, in my opinion, is women having a victim complex. Let me land though. Whoa, let me land, guys. Let's cool down. Okay? I know you want to fight me, but let me finish the point first. Then you can throw your punch. I say that women having a victim complex is a form of toxic femininity because oftentimes how that victim complex shows up is in the men that they choose. And what I mean is a lot of women are repeating a cycle on purpose because it reaffirms this narrative they have of themselves And when that narrative is reaffirmed, then they get to buy into this belief where they can feel sorry for themselves and continuously repeat the cycle of choosing men who reinforce that sad story that they've told themselves. So what I mean by that is there are women who go out of their way to pick broke men to date so that those men feel more inclined to need the women because they want to have a level of control over those men. Not because they want to take advantage of those men and financially abuse the men, but it's because they want to feel like that man can't leave them. He can't leave. He's broke. He needs me. But what they want to tell themselves is, he's not going to leave because he loves me. I've done all of these things for him. So he can't leave me. Girl, have I got news for you? You think picking a man who's going to need your help means that you are guaranteed love. And that is what forms part of the victim complex, though, because you are putting yourself in a position, essentially, where you're not the victor in your own story. You're the victim. You're letting these men come into your life when they're not qualified to be in your life. You're allowing them to use you because your ego is in the wrong place. And that's the next point I wanted to make. Another trait of toxic femininity is your ego is in the wrong place. When your ego is in the right place as a woman, because I think that women should actually have bigger egos. I think women should be more prideful. We see pride as a negative trait for a woman to have. And I can understand where pride can get in your way, especially if you're navigating issues with friendships or you're navigating career problems and you don't know if you want to send a follow-up email because you're prideful. That's different to you not exercising your pride correctly when dealing with men. So when your ego is in the wrong place as a woman, how that toxic femininity shows up in that example of your ego being in the wrong place is that you're just so easily enticed by men giving you compliments. And from those compliments, they're able to sleep with you. Because you're not prideful enough to demand more for your life. And that's toxic towards you. Because you're welcoming a low quality of man into your life. He's not going to do anything for you. He's going to take from you. But because your ego is in the wrong place, you love the idea of him even having come into your life. It's like with being so easily enticed by celebrity men. I've had experiences with celebrity men, and those experiences are never going to know the light of day. They won't even go on my Patreon because I think that some of these men need to be kept in the cemetery, the graveyard of my mind, and they are only allowed to be revisited as a memory when I'm reminding myself that, look, if I can walk away from a celebrity of this scale, none of you niggas mean anything to me. I don't care how many millions you have next to your following or on your bank account. If you're not treating me how I want to be treated, you mean nothing to me. That's how you would talk when your pride is in the right place and when your ego is not easily enticed by the idea of a celebrity liking you. When your ego is in the wrong place, you're the kind of woman who is so easily swayed by male validation. And that's a form of toxic femininity because when your ego is easily stroked by men, you're more likely to be in a situation where you might get spiked or like roofied is what they'd call it in the States. You're more likely to be in a situation where a man can sexually assault you because he's painted this picture of himself. You're enticed by the idea of going to a rich man's house by yourself. And he's not just any rich man, he's a celebrity. So you really want to be able to say that you were associated with someone of this nature. So you go by yourself and you follow him, and then something really scary and awful happens. And this is not the victim blaming of like, oh, you shouldn't have gone to his house then. I'm saying that if we're going to educate and empower women to know how to identify the earliest signs of potential abuse, then it starts with educating women to understand what's happening in an interaction with a man who has a lot of power. What's he using to try and entice you? And what can you do to flip that on itself and play him at his own game? What can you do to make him prove himself without you being in a position where you're potentially unsafe, when you haven't got enough reason to trust him to go to his house? If you had known him for longer, or if he gave you more of a viable reason to believe him, if he created more of a circumstance or environment where you can use your own discernment to be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm comfortable following him. That's different. Like, there's been a time when I was on I'm going to call it a date for the sake of this conversation. There was a time I was on a date with a celebrity man, a rapper. Oh, I cringe. Me and rappers do not go together. Anyway, I was on a date with a rapper. This would have been, how long ago was this? This was summer of 2024. I was on a date with a rapper. The date lasted hours because we were both having a good time. And this date happened to be in a hotel in the lobby. The hotel he was staying in. Because he had to leave the following morning. Anyway, it was in the hotel he was staying in the lobby. Conversation was going very well. And then he told me he has one last bag to pack. But it's not a long thing to pack. But he just needs to pack it. Because his flight at that point would have been like 3 hours away from us speaking. So he asked me if I would like to follow him to his hotel room. And this is someone at the time who I'd only met him for the first time that night. And usually you should hear alarm bells in your head if a man invites you to his hotel room. Because you'd think, what's going to happen in that hotel room? If I go to that hotel room, it's going to be just me and him, no CCTV. It's more of an enclosed space. But when you have practiced trusting your discernment, despite you having enough physical evidence to prove what your gut is telling you, it means that in scenarios where you're listening to your gut, you're more likely to be led in the correct direction because you've had enough opportunity to trust your gut. So my gut told me, this guy is not going to do anything to me. And I was right. It wouldn't have been in his interest. I had done my own assessing of the energy. It felt right. Followed him to his hotel room and it was fine. Like, he packed his suitcase in front of me. We chatted a bit and it was fine. It was pleasant. But it's not just any guy that I'll follow to his hotel room. It's not just any guy who I'll just go to his house. But when your ego is in the wrong place as a woman, how that toxic femininity can lead you astray is that you just really want to be liked by that man. You just really want him to see you as available and fun and down for whatever. You know? And that doesn't always benefit you. That can put you in danger. Now, another one is being emotionally manipulative. This one is a huge indicator of toxic femininity. Women do this one a lot. And you would probably think I'm the last person who should be saying something like this because I'm always on women's side. I remain on women's side. What I'm saying is I've noticed women do this thing where it's like they want to try and use like emotional blackmail to control men. Like, they think that crying and being really emotional is going to coerce and cajole that man into doing what he's already decided he doesn't want to do. Something about that is a bit sketchy to me. The reason I say it's toxic femininity is because it's not that crying is toxic. It's not that having emotions is toxic. It's not that expressing your emotions to a man in a heavy and intense way is toxic. It's what is your desired outcome? Because I've seen women be very like emotionally manipulative, but like it's just weird. It's like, why are you even in this relationship with this man? Like, girl, what are you holding on to this man for? And why has it reached a stage where you need to be manipulative? You're not even getting anything out of it. It's not even like you're getting money out of it. It's not even like this man is doing anything. You just want to hold on to him and you want to remain in this mutually toxic partnership. Like, he's called you out on a behavior that is... Because you know what? Like, contrary to how you may perceive me, I do believe I can be in the wrong. I'm not a stranger to apologizing. I can acknowledge if I've been in the wrong, but like, on the rare occasion that I'm wrong when dealing with a man, if I am wrong, I'm open to being like, you're right, I was in the wrong, I'm sorry. Like, I have my cute, fun ways of apologizing, but I will apologize. However, I just think that there's something a little sketchy about the women who like to use emotional manipulation to keep men stuck with them. Like, men who don't even want to be with them anymore. They're just trying to, like, because you don't want to be alone. So you're just using emotional manipulation tactics to try and force him to stay with you. That's what makes me feel a little bit uneasy. And you would think that, like, as someone who loves to, like, you know, defend women and prioritize women's perspective, that's always going to be a running theme. But women can be wrong too, especially when you're hanging on to the wrong man. You want to emotionally manipulate him into doing what? Into staying with you. I just feel like if you got to emotionally manipulate a man into being with you, it wasn't meant to be, girl. Always remember, if it's meant to be, it will be easy. That is something that I always think about. When I find myself in scenarios with men, and it's starting to feel like there's some tension at play here. Like, it's starting to feel like I'm having to pull teeth to just navigate dating this man. I'm like, you know what? If it was meant to be, it would be easy. I won't have to do all this. You know, I won't feel like, you know, when you feel tempted to get his attention on social media by suddenly, conveniently posting stories where you're looking really hot. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with looking hot online. I'm just saying, like, you know, we've done it as women. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Where maybe this guy has, like, dropped his momentum. So you're trying to, like, get him to be interested again. So you start dropping hot pictures in the hopes that will get his attention. Or you start exhibiting behaviors online. Like, maybe you're posting videos of you, like, partying hard so that it looks like you're enjoying your life, so that he will hopefully feel like he's missing out. Like, all these things to try and hopefully convince a man to be interested. I just feel like it's toxic to you, because remember, if it's meant to be, it'll be easy. You won't have to convince a man who likes you to like you. You won't have to do all that. If that naturally happens to be part of your day or your life, that's different. Because me, I'm a full-time hot girl. If I'm not pole dancing, I'm feather fan dancing. If I'm not feather fan dancing, I'm burlesque dancing. Like, I'm always hot. I'm hot, okay? But once I start to notice what I'm doing, like when I catch myself being like, am I posting this because I want this guy to see it, and I'm hoping that when he sees it, he's going to like my story, and then he's going to... That just feels like I'm doing too much. It's like I need to just accept that if things get to a stage where I feel like I need to do that, it's done. It's done. I need to mentally let this man go. I'm not going to wait for him to sign off and dismiss me. You never give a man that power. That's absolute no in the book of bad bitch. Don't do that, please. When you see a man losing interest, dropping his momentum, and becoming comfortable with not hearing from you, make peace with that. Don't try and emotionally manipulate him into liking you. Don't try and put yourself in compromising or dangerous positions to try and get his attention, because once you start doing that, and if that gets his attention, you're going to have to now maintain that. Now you're operating outside of your authenticity. That's toxic, girl. And it's toxic to you more than it's toxic to anybody else. It's more toxic to you. Now, here and there, I joke about being a toxic woman because men call you toxic for holding them accountable. Whilst I identify as being a toxic woman, because apparently it's toxic to expect for the value you bring to a man's life to be returned in the form of money and property and land. Or it's seen as toxic for you to hold a man accountable for his obviously bad behavior. Or it's seen as toxic for you to be unforgiving when a man puts himself in a position to lose you and you decide, you know what, that's not going to work for me actually, I don't forgive you. That's all seen as toxic. I embrace that. Because that toxicity I speak of in air quotes, it's not putting me in danger. It's not compromising on my authenticity. It's actually keeping me safe. And men only consider it toxic because it stops them from being able to benefit from your lack of boundaries. But toxic femininity is a different thing, because you're shooting own goals. You're playing against you're swinging against the tide. You're playing against your own benefit. Because now you're overcompensating to keep a man or to attract a man. You're embracing a victim complex to refuse the accountability of addressing how you allow men to take advantage of you. When there are instances, more often than not, where it's preventable on your part. And this is not victim blaming. This is victim empowerment, because first of all, embracing the position of victim, not sure about that. But secondly, if you want to empower women, we need to encourage women to learn how to identify the early stages of us betraying ourselves. And it starts with a victim mindset oftentimes. It starts with you already accepting the position of victim and then moving through the world with a I feel sorry for myself energy. You want men to feel sorry for you. You want men to pity you so that they will date you out of pity. Men who pity you will take advantage of you. Hear ye, hear ye. Men who pity you will take advantage of you. Then men are not women. They absolutely will take you for a ride. Or toxic femininity of your ego being in the wrong place. Yeah, you're getting an ego stroke from stupid men being attracted to you. Rise above that. Not all ego strokes are beneficial. Okay? Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up here. I enjoyed that episode. It's not often that you'll hear me discuss toxic femininity, but I felt like it needed to be spoken about because, yeah, in some ways we do dip into those behaviors and we have to just catch ourselves when we do it. Part of breaking these cycles and patterns of malfunctional behavior is just identifying it at its root and nipping it right there. Then spraying some root kill on it. Anyway, thank you for listening. Take care. And as always, I'll catch you in the next episode.